Should probably do it. But,
oh, just 3 sets, eh?
Yeah, we're just gonna do 3 sets of these because these are pretty tough, so. Planning on doing, like I said, the chains, which I thought I saw in one of our videos here before, but we don't have them. So you can use one of these stretch bands for it. What we're trying to do is make the curl itself harder at the top. So that'll get you to upper bicep. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna stand on this, and you'll see I'm gonna put the band on my wrist, and as I curl up, you'll see the band will flex, and that flex will add extra tension and extra weight at the end, where you have more stability, and it should work with the upper head. So, which basically attaches to your front delt. So
show some of that band.
We're gonna show, yeah. So we're gonna basically do, I'll show you through here. You stand on it, about shoulder width apart, right like this, and as I curl up, you're gonna see it. It's gonna basically be, obviously, as the tension comes on the band, it's gonna be harder basically to curl. So we're gonna do that instead of the chains. Another way you can do this though, you take a long barbell and you put the chains on there that you see some guys squat with, you can curl it, because as the chains come off the ground, obviously it's going to make more tension on basically the curl itself, and as the chains go, or as the bar goes down, the chains go on the ground, so the weight gets easier.
Time under tension.
There you go.
You're not supersetting?
So,
no superset, eh?
No, this one you're not gonna do super. These are pretty hard.
It's like a double-double right there.
Yeah, this is, if you try these out, they're pretty hard. If you do it with the chains, they're even harder.
Yeah.
So, but this is a good alternative. Like I said, if you look for new bicep exercises, this will really hit you pretty good. So I usually do these either middle or end, but it's something we haven't shot before, so I figured it was something good to throw in, because we've done a lot of arm workouts. So
how many sets, how many reps?
We're gonna do mainly just going off feel, so we're like 10 to 15 is what we're shooting for. But if you get 8 good ones, that's fine. If you get 15 or more than 15, probably need to jump up the dumbbell. It's part of it, it's basically. So that would be my guess, would be like 10 to 15 is what I'm gonna shoot for.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a barbell with the chains, which I talked about in there. I think we have that some on film, because as you go up, and the chains actually come off the ground, it obviously gets heavier. But they didn't have the proper setup here for that, so we ended up doing a band with dumbbells, which was a good alternative to it. Basically what that does is it starts off as easy, and as the band flexes, obviously it puts more tension. So it takes a 25-pound dumbbell for the first maybe 60% of it, and the last 40% probably makes it about a 40 to 45, maybe 50-pound dumbbell. We did those, and then we finished up that. That was not a superset though, that was just by itself, because those are pretty tough. Basically, straight here and down.
Straight body.
Yeah, you're not bringing it all the way up, because as you bring it all the way up, you take the tension off of it, so you want to end about right here.
Yeah, the crescendo brings it up and you lose tension. You
lose tension a little bit as you go a little bit higher. Plus, the band makes it harder to do that. So the sweet spot's about right here. Probably I would say about chest out, or maybe even chin, somewhere in that neighborhood. Cool. So we're trying to keep that tension basically. And we're trying to make it harder, obviously, as you go up. If you were to try these out at home, as you go up, probably once you start to get that flex, which is about right here, it's a jump up. I don't know how much weight it is, but it's like having I would guesstimate, because these are 25s, it's probably like having a 25 and then jump into a 45, maybe a 50, so that lasts a little bit. This is this exercise right here would be more for peaks, like we always talk about. This is good for like this is more for power. The first two things I was doing was a combination mainly of pump and power, so it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So cool. I try to vary it up. Like I said, because we've shot so many workouts, I try to give everybody out there a different look as far as like biceps, triceps. You know, there's so many exercises out there, but I feel like all the stuff that's out there, it's like the standard 6-7 exercises that everybody does. So I try to give you a little bit of variation so they're like, oh, that's different. I haven't tried that. Give you something new every time I try to shoot. So
I think your fans appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I get some DMs occasionally where people are like, oh, that's a good idea. I've never tried those, or haven't done those in a long time, or I've seen guys do those. I'm glad you explained it. So I do get some messages here and there from that. So try to keep it fresh a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Maybe make you guys occasionally watch. All right, that should probably do it.
Oh, just 3 sets, eh?
Yeah, we're just gonna do 3 sets of these because these are pretty tough. So we do some triceps, and then we'll go on to legs.
Yep, let's do some triceps. All right, how are you?
I'm doing good.
What's your name?
My name is Nicholas, Nicholas Leicht. What I do is photography. I'm based out of Orillia, Ontario. My photography business focuses on portraits as well as events, do weddings. I started photography quite a while ago, once I was probably about 12 years old. I'm photographing basically everything. Over probably the course of 10 years, I've really narrowed it down to portraiture and dealing with people. I enjoy the connection you can have with your subjects when you are photographing them in either a portrait session, or you interact with them at an event, or something like this in a gym. So you can reach me through my email, phone number, social media, Nicholas Leicht Photography. My email, nicholas@nicholaslightphotography.com, NICHOLAS LEICHT photography. Okay. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm there. Hit me up, 705-955-2949.
We do some triceps, and then we'll go on to legs.
Okay, let's do some triceps. What are we doing with these triceps?
We're gonna do like a one arm, if I can get this to work here. Basically just taking a rope that usually you would use like that. We're gonna pull it down. So we're just gonna basically do like one arm, just like a push down. Really focusing on the flex at the bottom. We're trying to focus on that flex at the bottom, basically. So. We've already done, if you guys count, you guys are keeping count, that's about 13 sets maybe. That's why I only did 3 of these. I'm gonna do 3 of these because the other one's supersets. I was doing 5 and 5, I believe.
Yeah, I see it. So you actually stopped at the bottom.
I'm gonna hold at the bottom and try to flex. Kind of like a static hold.
Oh, so you weren't showing off?
No, it's just a flex. Yeah. All right, so this is set number 2. Same thing, do 10 to 15, hold the last one. Just get a little flex on it, basically. It's like almost like a static hold, if you will. So. Basically, you're taking a rope, which you would do a 2-arm push down, pull it all the way through, and you can actually do a 1-arm. Some places do have where you've only got 1 rope, and you can just chain right in. If you got that, that's fine. I like having a little bit longer, like the real long rope. Some places have it, some places don't, but a way to make that your own, because every gym has a rope, you just pull it all the way through and then grab it somewhere along the waist, so then it also works your forearm a little bit, and you're just basically flexing that one arm. You're bringing it across the body and flex down, so it's across the, like you want to almost like turn a little bit, and you basically bring it across the body and flex the tricep at the very bottom.
Okay.
So, but that's a great, like I always use it as a finisher. That's a great finisher for like finishing up the workout. That's one of my favorites. Nicole likes that one as well. So like she usually uses that as a finisher as well. Okay.
All right,
Session
you got
one.
a pump now, so do your thing, bro.
We're gonna go do some photos, I guess.
All right.
Hopefully they turn out all right. My phone's blowing up here. So then we did some shooting. We did some photos with our new photographer, Nicholas, who we're trying him out with his assistant, Tiffany. We did some shots for Instagram and kind of getting ready for the next shoot, which is coming up here probably in about 7 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks. We're gonna try to diet down and get lean and mean and tanned up and do another one like we did last year at Rise Fitness in Medina. So. We did those, and then we've laid the bench back down, and we did a dumbbell skull crusher, feet up. The reason I like to do my feet up with some of these exercises, I do that with close grip bench too, is it actually keeps your balance, makes you work on your obliques and your abs and lower back to keep your balance on the bench, because if you don't have your balance, you're just going to fall right over. So I like to kind of incorporate that, and it's kind of almost like a double benefit to that. But that was the next superset. Head of the triceps. A lot of guys want big arms. I mean, they always talk arms, and then even me and Fred tease a lot about biceps because it's like the favorite guy exercise. But if you know much about arm size, tricep actually makes up a big portion of your arm, more so than the bicep. Tri meaning 3, bi meaning 2. So obviously there's 3 heads versus 2 heads on the bicep, and then you got the brachialis as well in there. But the reason I like skull crushers is it does the long head, which is basically the head that actually probably gives you the most girth, if you will. And what my biggest tip with that, and when you're doing because I like doing them dumbbells as opposed to barbell. Barbell, if you have a hand or a dominant arm, I should say, you sometimes can cheat that whole process. And I like doing dumbbells because it makes both arms work individually, so you're not going to get one side that's a little bit stronger than the other. But my biggest thing is you want to basically you're going to put your pinky on the tail end of one of the sides of the dumbbell, and then the other side of it, you want it to go past your ear. And if you look back in the video, you'll see like it'll go past my ear and then flex it out. So it's past the ear and flex it out at the top. And like I said, I always put my feet up with that exercise, so that way I get my stabilizer muscles for my core activated as well, because I got to stabilize myself on the bench as I'm doing that motion. So it keeps, you know, the triceps pumped, but it also makes my abs work a little bit as well, my core. So,
how many reps?
With that, that's more of a blood flow, I believe, more so than a power movement like a close grip bench or, you know, like a push down. So I usually do 10 to 15 on most of my stuff, and I usually don't go too heavy, because if you go too heavy on that exercise, I found as I've gotten a little bit older here, your elbows will definitely, you'll feel it. So I would basically say 10 to 15, get a good weight. Like I'll usually do, I think today I only did 25s, but usually I'll do 30 or 35s. I didn't know what we were going to be doing as far as like the shoot, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing too much, because sometimes with the posing and the shots, it takes a lot out of your body. So I kind of like toned it down just a tad. Finished up with the leg. It's basically like a giant circuit, if you will. You start off with, you're doing like a leg press, and then you're going into a walking dumbbell lunge, and then you finish up with a leg extension, and then you basically flow right back with a leg extension, walking dumbbells, and a leg press. And you do that whole circuit 7 times basically. So like 1 time through would be 1, then you start with the last one and go back to the first one, that would be 2, then 3, then 4, obviously all the way through to 7. I will tell you this, because of time constraints, we only did a few of them, and after 3 sets you're pretty pumped. Like, it's tough. So do 7 of those sets. If you pick the right weight, you'll be spinning. Your legs will be sore the next day, probably like you've never been sore, unless you train legs like a monster. So I mean, like, every time I do that circuit, my legs hurt for several days. So. If you know much about Hanny and his FST7, he does that whole setup there for the legs. And it, like I said, if I challenge any of you guys out there to do it that train legs on the regular, if you do that right and you pick a good weight for you, you will be feeling it the next day. If you do it properly. Like I said, it's all high volume, so it's all for, like, you know, you're not doing like heavy weight. You're like on mine, I had 345s on the leg press. I think it was like 95 pounds or 85 pounds on the leg extension, and only 25-pound dumbbells. And if you go through, take about a minute rest, and then circle back from the last to first, and then first to last, all the way through 7 times, it's pretty intense. So the only thing that he sometimes does before that is sometimes he'll do like a hack squat or squat before that, just to kind of warm up for 4 or 5 sets, and then goes into that tricep. Other than that, that's the whole workout, basically just those 7 sets. And if you do it right, like I said, you'll be sweating and you'll be feeling it. So even if you train legs 2 times a week, it's a great, what I like about it too is it's relatively quick workout. If you need to do legs, like a lot of times when I do legs, I'm doing shoulders and legs, or I'm doing arms and legs, and then I do back and chest separate with a little bit of arms as well, because sometimes I train certain body parts twice a week. It's a good one for legs that it can get in about 30 minutes, give or take, especially if you got a workout partner.
What are we doing today, bud?
Hey guys, how are we doing? We're doing a bi-tri superset to warm up here. Doing some rope hammer curls and some dual-handed tri pushdowns for the long head of the tricep. So we're gonna do these couple sets here. I'm gonna do one more set.
Very nice. But
right now it's a little hot in here, so I'll take my shirt off here. If I can get it off before it's too burning on. Started off with the original, we were doing a dual hand press down, but was with like hand grips as opposed to like a bar. And the reason is it keeps your elbows in tight and gets you that full extension at the bottom. Rope, sometimes you tend to kick out a little bit. Sometimes you can cheat with your, bring your lats in. With that exercise, you basically keep a lot of tension on the triceps. So we started off with that and rope hammer curls. That was a superset, just back and forth, back and forth. We did several sets of those. With warm-ups, I usually try to, it's all off an instinctual feel. I've been training long enough, and I think most of the guys who are out there would agree with me. You're basically just trying to get some blood into there. You don't want to tax the muscles too much, because obviously it's you're brand new. So like, normally I would curl, let's say for reps, 35, 40, 45s. So I grab like the 20 or 25s, and I'm just doing 10, 15, 20 reps, slow, some fast, and sometimes I'll do 2 different curls. And what I mean by that is I'll start off with a normal curl with a little bit of supination at the top, and then I'll maybe switch it to hammer curl and do like some hammers, and I might even do partials where I'm not even going fully all the way up. It's just kind of like partials, and I'm just trying to get that muscle warm, kind of break a sweat too, just to get everything loosened up, so by the time basically I get into my working sets, everything's ready to fire basically, and I can go at it. with the tricep push down, it's a dual hand. Like you could use a bar, you could use a rope, you could do like a lot of different. This is a 2-hand one. If you look back on the video there, you'll see that it's actually 2 hand grips. And the reason being, you want to hold them relatively close together, and it's kind of almost a little bit of at an angle, and you're just straight down and flex at the bottom, and kind of really like flex that tricep like we did at the very end of the rope. What I like about that is it keeps your elbows in tight because it won't go out, and it won't go out, like you can't really bring it out any further than that, so it kind of keeps that range of motion straight up and down. So it's really good for triceps. As far as tips go, I would basically say just keeping a little bit of a tilt as opposed to being straight out like this, maybe a little bit of a tilt in, and just at the very bottom flexing the tricep. Pick a weight that you can do 10 to 15. A lot of times with that, if I was talking throughout the whole thing as opposed to just in the zone, I probably would have done, and if I had a little more time, I probably would have done like 3 or 4 regular sets of that, and then I would have done like a giant drop set, starting off heavy, going to about half, and then drop it a little bit more with some static holds at the end. That's a good way, like a good alternative tip to do on the very last set, which would be either set 4 or set 5.